The emergency alarm echoed through the massive Galactic Council ship. Red lights flashed across every wall and ceiling. Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrian Alliance rushed down the long metal hallways. His blue skin was pale with worry. His forearms shook as he carried the urgent message. The council chamber was already full when he arrived. Representatives from dozens of alien worlds sat in their special chairs. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had multiple eyes or strange breathing equipment. But they all looked scared. Kethvar stepped up to the speaking platform. His voice was deep and tired. "Fellow council members, I bring terrible news. The Mordak Empire has destroyed another 3 of our worlds. The Kepler system is gone. 20 billion Zephyrians are dead." A shocked silence filled the room. The other aliens looked at each other with fear in their eyes. The Mordak Empire had been winning this war for 3 long years. No one could stop them. "How many ships do they have now?" asked Councillor Meshka from the Andromedan Republic. "Our scouts report over 800 battleships," Kethvar replied. "They have quantum torpedoes that go right through our plasma shields. Their swarm attack tactics destroy our formations before we can fight back." The room erupted in worried chatter. Different alien languages mixed together in a chorus of fear. Some representatives were already talking about surrender. Far away, from the council meeting, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the human ship, New Frontier. He was reading reports from Earth when his communication officer spoke up. "Captain, we are getting an emergency signal from the Galactic Council," said Lieutenant Carol Evans. She was young and had only been in space for 2 years. "They want to speak with Earth Command right away." Jake looked at the message on his screen. His brown eyes grew serious as he read. "Get me Admiral Harper on Earth. Use the quantum relay. This looks important." The hologram of Admiral Lisa Harper appeared above Jake's desk. She was a tough woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp green eyes. She had commanded Earth's space fleet for over 10 years. "What is the situation, Captain Morrison?" She asked. Jake sent her the Galactic Council message. "The Zephyrians are asking for help. The Mordak Empire is winning their war. They want any species that can fight to join them." Admiral Harper read the message carefully. Her face showed no emotion, but Jake could tell she was thinking hard. "How long has this war been going on?" 3 years, Admiral. "The reports say the Mordaks have quantum weapons and advanced shield technology. The Zephyrians are losing badly. What do we know about human weapons compared to theirs?" Jake pulled up the technical reports. "Well, Admiral, our weapons are mostly kinetic. Railguns, missiles, and projectile cannons. The aliens all use energy weapons like plasma beams and laser cannons. They think our weapons are old-fashioned." Admiral Harper was quiet for a long moment. She looked out the window of her office at the blue Earth below. "Captain, contact Commander Price at Strategic Defense. I need a full report on our fleet readiness." 20 minutes later, Commander Ben Price appeared on the communication screen. He was a careful man who always thought about risks. His bald head was shiny with sweat. "Admiral Harper, I have reviewed the situation," he said. "The Mordak Empire has technology that is hundreds of years ahead of ours. Their quantum torpedoes can destroy entire planets. I recommend that Earth stays out of this war." "What about our fleet numbers?" Admiral Harper asked. "We have 50 combat ships ready for deep space battle. The Mordaks have 800. It would be suicide to fight them." Admiral Harper turned to another screen, where President Amanda Cole was waiting. The president was a strong woman with black hair and determined eyes. She had led Earth for 6 years through many difficult times. "Madam President, you have heard the reports. What are your orders?" President Cole was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke with a firm voice. "Commander Price, show me the images from the Mordak attacks on civilian ships." The screen changed to show terrible pictures. Mordak warships were firing on helpless refugee vessels. Thousands of alien families were trying to escape the war zones. Men, women, and children of different species were dying in the cold darkness of space. "How many civilians have died in this war?" President Cole asked. "Current estimates are over 200 billion across 15 star systems," Commander Price replied. "The Mordaks do not spare non-combatants." President Cole's jaw tightened. Then we cannot stand by and watch. Admiral Harper, prepare the fleet for combat operations. Commander Price looked shocked. Madam President, with respect, this is not our war. Earth could be destroyed if we lose. Commander, America did not become great by running from fights when innocent people needed help, President Cole said. We may have smaller numbers, but we have something the aliens do not understand. What is that, Madam President? Admiral Harper asked. We know how to fight dirty. Back at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Kethvar was still trying to find allies. Most species were too afraid to fight the Mordax. The few that offered help could only send small numbers of ships. His assistant, a young Zephyrian named Telnor, approached with a communication device. Ambassador, there is a message from the human government on Earth. Kethvar took the device. He had heard of humans but had never met one. They were a new species that had only joined the galactic community 20 years ago. Their technology seemed very basic compared to other civilizations. The message was simple. Earth fleet will join the fight against the Mordak Empire. 50 ships departing immediately under Admiral Lisa Harper's command. Telnor looked confused. Only 50 ships, Ambassador. The Mordaks have hundreds. Kethvar was also puzzled, but he was desperate for any help. Send a reply. Tell them we accept their assistance gratefully. On Earth, Admiral Harper was meeting with her ship captains. The conference room was full of experienced officers who had served in Earth's various conflicts over the years. Captain Roy Spencer commanded the battleship Terra's Hammer. He was a big man with scars on his face from an earlier space battle. Admiral, what do we know about Mordak battle tactics? According to Zephyrian reports, they use swarm attacks with overwhelming numbers, Admiral Harper replied. They also have quantum shields that can deflect energy weapons. Captain Dan Kelly of the destroyer Pacific Storm raised his hand. He was younger than most of the other officers, but had proven himself in combat. What about their armor against kinetic weapons? Unknown. The aliens all use energy weapons, so there is no data on how Mordak ships handle projectile impacts. Chief Engineer Nina Wells spoke up from the back of the room. She was the smartest person in Earth's fleet when it came to weapon systems. Admiral, our railguns fire dense metal slugs at 30% of light speed. If their shields are designed for energy weapons, they might not stop physical projectiles. Admiral Harper nodded. That is what I am hoping. We will find out soon enough. The meeting ended, and the officers returned to their ships. Within hours, the Earth fleet was ready to depart. 50 human warships powered up their engines and left Earth's orbit. As they traveled through hyperspace toward the war zone, the EI human crews prepared for battle. They cleaned their weapons, checked their armor, and studied what little information they had about Mordak ships. None of them knew that they were about to change the course of galactic history. In just 5 hours, they would show the galaxy what human warfare really meant. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Jake Morrison watched his screens as 50 Earthships formed up behind Admiral Harper's flagship. In the distance, he could see the massive battle already taking place. Hundreds of ships were fighting near the system's largest planet. Bright flashes of energy weapons lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. Zephyrian vessels with their elegant curved hulls were being torn apart by the brutal angular ships of the Mordak Empire. Captain, I am counting over 300 Mordak warships, reported Lieutenant Carol Evans from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. And how many Zephyrian ships are left? Jake asked. Maybe 150, sir. They are losing badly. Jake opened a communication channel to Admiral Harper. Admiral, should we move to assist the Zephyrians immediately? Negative, Captain. We need to observe Mordak tactics first. All ships maintain current position and study the enemy. Across the battlefield, General Vextor stood on the bridge of his massive Mordak dreadnought. He was 8 feet tall with thick gray skin and 4 powerful arms. His red eyes glowed as he watched his fleet destroy another group of Zephyrian cruisers. War Chief, our scouts report new ships entering the system, said his tactical officer, a smaller Mordak named Granusk. General Vextor looked at the sensor readings. The new ships were tiny compared to Mordak vessels. Their design was simple and blocky, like primitive cargo haulers. How many ships, he asked. 50, War Chief. They appear to be from the species called humans. General Vextor laughed, a deep rumbling sound that shook the bridge. Humans? I have heard of them. A young species with ancient technology. They still use projectile weapons like children playing with toys. Should we engage them, War Chief? No. Let them watch us destroy the Zephyrians first. Then we will crush their pathetic fleet as an afterthought. On the Zephyrian command ship, Fleet Admiral Shenkala was desperate. Her beautiful silver vessel was damaged in 3 places. Smoke filled the bridge as her crew tried to keep the ship fighting. Admiral, the human fleet has arrived, reported her communications officer, a young Zephyrian named Velkos. Admiral Shenkala looked at the tactical display. The human ships were small and looked very basic compared to the sleek Zephyrian designs. But any help was better than none. Open a channel to the human commander, she ordered. Admiral Harper's face appeared on the Zephyrian screens. She was calm and professional despite the chaos of battle around them. Admiral Shenkala, this is Admiral Lisa Harper of the Earth Fleet. We are here to assist you. Admiral Harper, we are grateful for your help. But I must warn you, the Mordax have quantum torpedoes that can destroy ships in one hit. Their shields deflect all energy weapons. Admiral Harper nodded. Understood. Please assign us a support position. We will follow your lead. Admiral Shenkala felt disappointed. With only 50 ships, the humans could not change the battle. But she tried to sound hopeful. Take position behind our left flank. Provide covering fire for our damaged vessels. The human fleet moved into position. Captain Roy Spencer of the battleship Terra's Hammer studied the Mordak attack patterns on his screens. The enemy ships moved in tight groups, using overwhelming firepower to destroy Zephyrian vessels one by one. Engineering, what is the status of our weapons? He asked over the intercom. Chief Engineer Nina Wells replied from deep inside the ship. All railguns are loaded and ready, Captain. We have armor-piercing slugs in tubes 1 through 12 and explosive rounds in tubes 13 through 24. What? About our missile systems? Full load of kinetic warheads, sir. Our birds are ready to fly. Captain Roy Spencer smiled grimly. Good. Target the nearest Mordak cruiser and prepare to fire on my command. 3 Mordak frigates broke away from the main battle and moved toward the human fleet. Their commander, Sub-Chief Crackmole, wanted to test these new enemies before the main assault. Human ships are small and weak, he told his crew. We will destroy them quickly and return to finish the Zephyrians. The Mordak frigates opened fire with their quantum torpedoes. Bright blue energy bolts streaked across space toward the human destroyer. Pacific Storm. Captain Dan Kelly watched the torpedoes approach on his screens. All hands, brace for impact. Damage control team stand. Ready. The quantum torpedoes hit the human ship's hull with tremendous force. The bridge shook violently and several crew members were thrown from their chairs. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. Damage report, Captain Kelly shouted. Hull breach. On deck 7, Captain, reported his engineering officer. But the armor held. We have lost some outer plating, but the ship is still operational. Sub-Chief Crackmole stared at his screens in confusion. His quantum torpedoes should have destroyed the human ship completely. Instead, it was still moving and still fighting. Fire again, he ordered. Concentrate all weapons on that vessel. More quantum torpedoes streaked toward the Pacific Storm. But Captain Kelly was not waiting to be hit again. All weapons, target the lead Mordak frigate. Fire everything we have. The human destroyer's railguns opened fire. Instead of energy beams, solid metal slugs shot out at incredible speed. Each slug was the size of a small car and moving at 30% of light speed. The railgun slugs hit the Mordak frigate's shields. The energy barriers that easily deflected laser beams and plasma bolts could not stop the physical projectiles. The dense metal slugs punched right through the shields and smashed into the ship's hull. The Mordak frigate shuddered as the kinetic impacts tore huge holes in its armor. Systems exploded throughout the ship as the metal slugs carved through its interior. Impossible, Sub-Chief Crackmole screamed. How did their primitive weapons penetrate our shields? His tactical officer was checking the damage readings. Sub-Chief, Their weapons are not energy-based. They fire solid objects. Our shields cannot deflect physical matter at those velocities. Before Sub-Chief Crackmull could respond, the human destroyer fired its missiles. Dozens of kinetic warheads streaked toward his damaged ship. When they hit, the explosions tore the Mordak frigate apart completely. Captain Dan Kelly allowed himself a small smile. "Target the second frigate. All weapons, continuous fire." The other two Mordak frigates tried to retreat, but the human ships were faster than they looked. Captain Roy Spencer brought his battleship, Terra's Hammer, into the fight. "Fire all forward. Batteries," he ordered. 24 railgun slugs hit the second Mordak frigate at the same time. The enemy ship simply disappeared in a cloud of metal fragments and burning gas. The third Mordak frigate tried to run back to the main fleet, but Commander Helen Brooks of the cruiser, Arctic Wolf, cut off its escape route. "Target their engines," she ordered her weapons officer. "I want that ship disabled, not destroyed." Precision railgun fire destroyed the Mordak frigate's propulsion systems. The enemy ship drifted helplessly in space as human Marines prepared to board it. General Vextor watched the destruction of his 3 frigates with growing anger and confusion. How had these primitive humans destroyed his ship so easily? "War Chief, the human weapons appear to be kinetic rather than energy-based," reported his science officer. "Our shields are not designed to stop solid projectiles." "Then we will overwhelm them with numbers," General Vextor roared. "All ships, target the human fleet. Destroy them now." 50 Mordak warships turned away from the Zephyrian fleet and moved toward the humans. Their quantum torpedoes began firing in massive volleys that lit up space like a deadly light show. Admiral Harper watched the approaching enemy fleet on her screens. She opened a communication channel to all human ships. "All vessels, this is Admiral Harper. The enemy is committing a large force against us. Implement attack pattern Delta. Show them what human warfare really means." The human ships spread out into a loose formation that confused the Mordak commanders. Instead of the tight battle groups used by other species, the humans seemed to be scattering randomly. Captain Roy Spencer smiled as he watched the Mordak ships approach. "All weapons, prepare for continuous fire. Target their largest ships first. Let us give these aliens a lesson in human stubbornness." The real battle was about to begin. The 50 Mordak warships charged toward the human fleet like angry wolves. Their quantum torpedoes filled space with deadly blue light. General Vextor expected to crush these primitive humans in minutes. But the human ships did not fight like any species he had seen before. Instead of forming neat battle lines, they scattered in all directions. Each ship moved independently, making it impossible for the Mordaks to target them all at once. Captain Roy Spencer dove his battleship Terra's Hammer straight down while firing all weapons. His railgun slugs smashed into a Mordak destroyer, punching clean through both sides of the enemy ship. "Direct hit," shouted his weapons officer, Lieutenant Pete Johnson. "Enemy destroyer is breaking apart." At the same time, Captain Dan Kelly brought his destroyer Pacific Storm up from below the Mordak formation. His surprise attack caught 3 enemy cruisers off guard. Kinetic missiles exploded against their hulls, sending pieces of metal spinning into space. "This is impossible," General Vextor roared as he watched his ships being destroyed. "They have no formation, no discipline. How can they fight like this?" His tactical officer, Gran Usk, was studying the human attack patterns. "War Chief, each human ship appears to operate independently. They do not wait for orders from their commanders. That should make them weaker, not stronger." "Yes, War Chief, but it also makes them unpredictable. Our targeting computers cannot calculate their next moves." Captain Julia Evans of the Heavy cruiser Iron Eagle demonstrated exactly what Gran Usk meant. Instead of firing from a safe distance like other species, she drove her ship directly at a Mordak battleship. "Captain, collision course detected," her navigation officer warned. "I know," Captain Evans replied calmly. "All crew, prepare for ramming speed. Engineering, divert all power to forward shields." The Mordak battleship tried to turn away, but Captain Evans followed its every move. At the last second, she fired every weapon she had directly into the enemy ship's hull. The Iron Eagle smashed into the Mordak battleship with tremendous force. Both ships shook violently as metal tore against metal. But the human ship was built tougher. It pushed through the enemy hull and emerged on the other side. The Mordak battleship split in half and exploded. Captain Evans wiped blood from a cut on her forehead and smiled. Damage report. Forward hull damaged, but holding, Captain. We can still fight. Commander Helen Brooks watched the ramming attack from her cruiser, Arctic Wolf. She opened a communication channel to her weapons officer. Lieutenant Murphy, did you see that? Yes, ma'am. Captain Evans just used her ship as a weapon. Exactly. Target that Mordak heavy cruiser. We are going to try the same thing. Admiral Shen Kala of the Zephyrian fleet watched the human attack with amazement. Her species had fought wars for thousands of years, but they had never seen anything like this. Admiral, the humans are fighting without any regard for their own safety, reported her tactical officer. They are not following any known battle doctrine, Admiral Shenkala said. They attack from impossible angles and use tactics that should get them killed. But they are winning, Admiral. Admiral Shenkala looked at her screens. In just 30 minutes, the humans had destroyed 15 Mordak ships while losing only 2 of their own. The enemy formation was falling apart as individual Mordak captains tried to deal with the chaotic human attacks. Dr. Frank Miller, Earth's lead weapons scientist, was aboard Admiral Harper's flagship watching the battle. A Zephyrian observer, Science Officer Telmar, stood beside him with 4 eyes wide in shock. Dr. Miller, your weapons are incredibly effective against our shields, Telmar said. But I do not understand how simple kinetic energy can be so powerful. Dr. Miller pointed to his computer screen showing weapon specifications. Your energy shields are designed to deflect plasma and laser beams. But our railgun slugs are solid metal moving at 90,000 kilometers per second. Physics says that kinetic energy equals mass times velocity squared. And your missiles? Same principle. Dense metal warheads that punch through armor and explode inside the target. Very effective against ships designed to fight energy weapons. Telmar was quiet for a moment. Your species developed these weapons to fight each other, did you not? Yes. Humans have been at war with each other for thousands of years. We learned to build weapons that kill efficiently. Meanwhile, Commander Greg Adams was leading the first human boarding action of the war. His assault ship, Liberty Strike, had attached itself to a damaged Mordak cruiser using magnetic clamps. Marines, remember your training, he told his men, over the radio. These aliens are bigger and stronger than humans, but they have never fought ground combat like us. Sergeant Lisa Turner checked her assault rifle one more time. Sir, what do we know about Mordak combat tactics? Intelligence says they prefer energy weapons and fight in formal duels. They give their enemies time to surrender honorably. And us, sir? Commander Adams smiled grimly. We shoot first and ask questions later. The boarding tube connected to the Mordak ship with a loud clang. Human Marines poured through the opening into the alien vessel. The corridors were larger than on human ships, designed for the 8-foot-tall Mordak warriors. The first Mordak soldier they met was carrying an energy rifle and wearing ceremonial armor. He raised his weapon and spoke in broken English. Human warriors, I challenge you to honorable combat. Choose your champion. Sergeant Turner did not hesitate. She shot him 3 times in the chest with her kinetic rifle. The Mordak warrior fell, backward with a look of shock on his face. Ma'am, he was trying to surrender, said Private Jake Wilson. No, he was trying to start a formal duel. In human combat, there are no duels. There is only winning and losing. The Marines moved through the Mordak ship like a deadly storm. Every alien they met expected the humans to follow the same combat rules as other species. Instead, the Marines used grenades, automatic weapons, and team tactics that overwhelmed the confused Mordaks. Within 20 minutes, Commander Adams was standing on the enemy bridge, accepting the surrender of the Mordak captain. Back in the main battle, General Vextor was beginning to panic. His fleet had been reduced from 50 ships to 35. The humans had lost only 4 vessels, and they showed no signs of slowing down. War Chief, perhaps we should retreat and regroup, suggested Gronusk. Never. The Mordak Empire does not run from inferior species. But even as he spoke, General Vextor could see that his remaining ships were scattered and confused. The human attack had broken his formation completely. Individual Mordak captains were fighting desperately while trying to avoid the unpredictable human vessels. Captain Roy Spencer brought his battleship around for another attack run. His ship was damaged in several places, but all weapons were still working. "Target that Mordak dreadnought," he ordered. "The big one with all the weapon ports." "Sir, that ship is twice our size," warned his tactical officer. "Size does not matter, if you know where to hit them. Fire all railguns at their engine section." 24 kinetic slugs hit the Mordak dreadnought's rear hull. The impacts caused a chain reaction that destroyed the ship's main power systems. The massive vessel went dark and began drifting helplessly. Admiral Harper watched the battle from her command ship and made a decision that would end the fight quickly. She opened a channel to all human vessels. "All ships, implement final assault. Pattern. Concentrate fire on their command vessels. Let us finish this." The remaining human ships formed up into attack groups for the first time in the battle. Instead of fighting individually, they began coordinating their attacks. The effect was devastating. General Vextor watched in horror as his command ship came under attack from 6 human vessels at once. Railgun slugs and kinetic missiles tore through his shields and armor like paper. "War Chief, we must evacuate," Granusk shouted over the sound of explosions. "This cannot be happening," General Vextor said. "We are the Mordak Empire. We conquered 100 worlds. How can these primitive humans defeat us?" His question would soon be answered in the most final way possible. General Vextor's command ship shook violently as another wave of human railgun slugs tore through its hull. Sparks flew from damaged control panels, and the lights flickered on and off. The proud Mordak warship was falling apart around him. "War Chief, hull breach on levels 12 through 15, shouted his damage control officer. "We are losing life support in the forward sections." General Vextor looked at his tactical display. Only 22 Mordak ships remained from his original fleet of 50. The humans still had 46 vessels, and they were attacking with mechanical precision. Captain Alex Wright of the battlecruiser Thunder Bay was leading the assault on the Mordak flagship. His ship had taken heavy damage, but every weapon was still firing. "Target their command tower," he ordered his weapons officer. "Let us cut off the head of this snake." 12 railgun slugs hit the top of the Mordak command ship. The tower where General Vextor stood began to collapse. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut as atmosphere rushed out into space. "War Chief, the humans are trying to board us." Granusk pointed to his screens. 3 human assault ships were attaching themselves to different parts of the Mordak flagship. General Vextor drew his ceremonial energy sword. "Then we will meet them in honorable combat. Gather the remaining warriors." But the humans did not fight with honor. Commander Pete Wilson led his Marines through the boarding tunnels with one goal: capture the enemy command center as quickly as possible. "Remember, we want their leader alive if possible," he told his troops over the radio. "But do not take unnecessary risks." Sergeant Kelly Moore kicked down the first door they found. 3 Mordak warriors were waiting with energy weapons raised. They expected the humans to announce themselves and offer formal combat. Instead, the Marines threw flash grenades and charged through the smoke. The Mordaks were blinded and confused by the sudden attack. Within seconds, all 3 aliens were on the ground with kinetic rifle rounds in their chests. "Move fast, stay low, watch your corners," Sergeant Moore called to her team. "These aliens fight like they are in a parade. We fight like our lives depend on it." The Marines moved through, the Mordak ship using tactics learned from centuries of human warfare. They advanced in small groups, covering each other and using grenades to clear rooms before entering. Major Jennifer Clark was leading her squadron of bombers through the remaining Mordak fleet. Her pilots flew their small ships like angry hornets, attacking from every direction at once. "Gold leader to all wings," she called over the radio. "Target their largest ships first. Do not give them time to organize a defense." Lieutenant Paul Adams dove his bomber straight down toward a Mordak heavy cruiser. His approach was so steep that the enemy weapons could not target him properly. Fox 3, Fox 3, he called as he launched his missiles. "Direct hit on target." The kinetic warheads punched through the Mordak cruiser's hull and exploded inside. The enemy ship broke in half and drifted away in 2 burning pieces. Captain Nancy Hall brought her bomber up from underneath another Mordak vessel. "This is Gold 7, beginning attack run on enemy destroyer." Her precision strike destroyed the Mordak ship's engines. Without propulsion, it became an easy target for the human battleships. On the Zephyrian command ship, Admiral Shenkala watched the human attack with growing amazement. Her species had sophisticated battle computers that calculated the best tactical moves, but the humans seemed to ignore all logic and still won every engagement. "Admiral, how are they so effective?" asked her tactical officer. "Their ships are smaller, and their technology appears primitive." "I think I am beginning to understand," Admiral Shenkala replied. "They do not fight to look good or follow proper procedures. They fight only to win." "What is the difference?" "We try to defeat our enemies with minimum casualties and maximum honor. The humans try to destroy their enemies as quickly and completely as possible." Dr. Frank Miller was still aboard Admiral Harper's flagship, explaining human weapons to the confused Zephyrian observer. "Dr. Miller, your pilots seem to have no fear of death," Telmar said. "They attack much larger ships without hesitation. Human pilots are trained to complete their missions regardless of personal risk," Dr. Miller explained. "We call it dedication to duty." "But why do they not retreat when facing superior numbers?" "Because retreating means the enemy continues to exist. In human warfare, the only acceptable outcome is total victory." Telmar was quiet for a moment. "Your species has a very different philosophy of combat than ours." "Yes. Other species fight wars. Humans fight to end wars." Meanwhile, Commander, Pete Wilson's Marines had fought their way to the Mordak Command Center. The corridors were filled with smoke and the smell of burned metal. Bodies of Mordak warriors lay everywhere. "Sergeant Moore, take your team left. Corporal Davis, go right. I will take the center corridor," Commander Wilson ordered. They found General Vextor in what remained of his command bridge. The 8-foot-tall Mordak general stood alone among the wreckage of his ship. His red eyes glowed with anger, and his 4 arms held different weapons. "Human warriors," he roared. "I am General Vextor of the Mordak Empire. I challenge your leader to single combat." Commander Wilson looked at the alien general for a moment. Then he turned to his Marines. "Stun grenades. Take him alive." "What?" "No," General Vextor shouted. "This is not honorable. We must fight as warriors." The stun grenades exploded around the Mordak general. The electrical shock brought the huge alien to his knees. Within seconds, human Marines had him in restraints. "Sir, should we accept his challenge to single combat?" asked Sergeant Moore. "This is not a movie, Sergeant. This is war. We came here to capture him, not to play games." The capture of General Vextor sent panic through the remaining Mordak fleet. Their supreme commander was gone and their flagship was destroyed. Individual ship captains began making their own decisions about whether to continue fighting. Captain Roy Spencer of the Terra's Hammer targeted a group of 5 Mordak destroyers that were trying to retreat. "All weapons, continuous fire. Do not let them escape." His battleship's railguns spoke again and again. Each shot destroyed or disabled another enemy vessel. Within minutes, all 5 Mordak destroyers were either destroyed or drifting helplessly in space. Admiral Harper opened a communication channel to the remaining Mordak ships. "Attention, Mordak vessels. Your commander has been captured and your fleet is defeated. Surrender now and your crews will be treated according to galactic law." War Chief Braktul, now the senior Mordak officer, looked around at what remained of his once mighty fleet. Only 8 ships were still capable of fighting. The humans had 39 vessels that showed no signs of slowing down. "This is War Chief. Braktul to human fleet," he transmitted. We request terms of surrender." "Terms are simple," Admiral Harper replied. "Power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that tries to run will be destroyed." One young Mordak captain named Kolvash tried to escape with his frigate. He powered up his engines and turned away from the battle. Captain Dan Kelly's destroyer Pacific Storm was waiting for exactly this kind of move. "Target that frigate's engines. Disable it, but do not destroy." Precision railgun fire crippled the fleeing Mordak ship. It tumbled through space, completely helpless. "This is your final warning. Admiral Harper broadcast to all remaining Mordak vessels. Surrender now or be destroyed. The 8 surviving Mordak ships powered down their weapons one by one. Their proud fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for 3 years was beaten in less than 4 hours by 50 human ships. On the Zephyrian command ship, Admiral Shen Kala stared at her tactical display in disbelief. The massive Mordak fleet that had been winning the war was completely defeated. "Admiral, the humans are requesting permission to board the surrendered Mordak vessels," reported her communications officer. "Granted. And send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them the war is over." Admiral Shen Kala looked out at the human fleet. These strange aliens with their primitive weapons had accomplished what the combined forces of dozens of species could not do in 3 years of fighting. The final hour was about to begin. Admiral Lisa Harper stood on the bridge of her flagship as human Marines boarded the last surrendering Mordak vessel. Her uniform was wrinkled, and she had not slept in 20 hours, but her eyes were sharp with victory. "Admiral, all Mordak ships have been secured," reported Captain Jake Morrison from his communication station. "We have taken over 400 prisoners, including General Vex Tor." Admiral Harper looked at the tactical display, where once 300 Mordak warships had threatened the galaxy. Now only scattered debris and 8 captured vessels remained. The entire battle had lasted exactly 4 hours and 57 minutes. "What are our casualties?" she asked. 7 ships lost, Admiral. 43 vessels still operational. Total human casualties are 218 dead, 412 wounded. Admiral Harper was quiet for a moment. In less than 5 hours, 50 human ships had destroyed a fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for 3 years. But the cost in human lives was real and painful. War Chief Braktal was brought to Admiral Harper's ship under guard. The Mordak officer was tall and proud, but his red eyes showed defeat and confusion. He had never experienced anything like human warfare. "I do not understand," he said to Admiral Harper through a translator device. "Your ships are smaller, and your weapons are primitive. How did you defeat us so easily?" Admiral Harper studied. "The alien warrior. Your species fights for glory and honor. My species fights to end threats permanently. But we are superior warriors. We have conquered dozens of worlds. You conquered worlds that fought like you do, species that follow rules and give enemies time to surrender. We do not follow those rules." War Chief Braktal was silent. He was beginning to understand that humans were fundamentally different from every other species he had encountered. "What will happen to my people?" he asked. "That will be decided by the Galactic Council. But the war is over. The Mordak Empire will never again threaten innocent civilians." On the Zephyrian command ship, Admiral Shen Kala was meeting with her senior officers. They were all trying to process what they had witnessed. "Admiral, our analysis of human combat tactics is complete," reported her tactical officer. "They appear to ignore most established principles of space warfare." "Explain." "They do not form proper battle lines. They do not protect their command ships. They risk individual vessels to achieve tactical objectives. By all military theory, they should have been destroyed." Admiral Shen Kala nodded. "But they were not destroyed. They won. What does that tell us about our military theory?" The tactical officer was uncomfortable with the question. Perhaps there are different ways to fight wars." "The humans fight like predators, not like civilized beings," said another officer. "They show no mercy and take unnecessary risks." "And yet they saved us," Admiral Shen Kala pointed out. "When we were about to lose everything, these uncivilized humans ended the war in less than 5 hours." Captain Roy Spencer was inspecting the damage to his battleship, Terra's Hammer. The ship had taken heavy hits but was still operational. Chief Engineer Nina Wells met him in the main corridor. "Captain, we can make repairs and be ready for combat in 6 hours, she reported. "Will that be necessary, Chief?" "Unknown, sir. But after seeing how we fight, I doubt any other species will want to test us anytime soon." Captain Spencer smiled. "The galaxy is about to learn that humans are not the primitive species they thought we were." Dr. Frank Miller was still aboard Admiral Harper's flagship. But now he was meeting with representatives from a dozen different alien species. Word of the human victory had spread quickly through the galactic communication networks. "Dr. Miller, we must understand your weapons. Technology," said Ambassador Velthar of the Centauri Republic. "How are kinetic weapons so effective against modern shields?" "Simple physics," Dr. Miller replied. "Your shields deflect energy. They cannot stop mass. A heavy object moving fast enough will go through any energy barrier." But why did no one else think of this? Because most species abandoned kinetic weapons thousands of years ago when energy weapons were developed. Only humans kept improving projectile technology. Ambassador Velthar looked puzzled. "But energy weapons are more efficient and cleaner." "Efficient? Yes, but kinetic weapons kill more reliably. In human warfare, reliability is more important than efficiency." The alien ambassador was quiet for a moment. "Your species has a very practical approach to violence." "We have had a lot of practice." General Vextor was being held in the brig of Admiral Harper's ship. The former Mordak commander sat in his cell, still trying to understand how his mighty empire had been defeated so quickly. Commander Pete Wilson came to interview him. The human marine officer sat across from the huge alien and activated a recording device. "General, I need to ask you some questions for our official report." "I have nothing to say to you," General Vextor replied. "You did not defeat me honorably. Honor is not the same thing as victory. My job was to capture you, and I did. Your species has no concept of proper warfare. You fight like wild animals." Commander Wilson considered this. "Maybe. But wild animals survive. Honorable warriors often do not." General Vextor stared at the human for a long time. "What kind of species are you?" "We are the species that ends wars." Back on Earth, President Amanda Cole was meeting with her military advisors. Reports from the battle were still coming in, but the outcome was clear. "Madam President, the victory is complete," reported Defense Secretary Carol Martinez. "The Mordak Empire has surrendered unconditionally. The Zephyrian Alliance is safe." "What is the galactic reaction?" "Mixed, ma'am. Relief from species that were threatened by the Mordaks, but also fear. Many aliens are now worried about human military capabilities." President Cole nodded. "Fear can be useful. It prevents future conflicts. Some species are requesting military alliances with Earth. Others are asking about arms purchases. What do you recommend?" "Selective cooperation, ma'am. We should help our allies but not give away our technological advantages." Admiral Harper received a priority message from Earth Command. She read it carefully, then called her senior officers to a meeting. "Orders from Earth," she announced. "We are to establish a permanent fleet base in this system. The Galactic Council has requested that human forces remain as peacekeepers." Captain Roy Spencer raised his hand. "Admiral, are we ready for that responsibility?" "Ready or not, we have it now. The galaxy has seen what human warfare can accomplish. They want us as allies, not enemies." "And if other species try to test us?" Admiral Harper's expression was cold. "Then they will learn the same lesson the Mordaks learned." 3 days later, Ambassador Kethvar addressed the full Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of worlds listened as he described the human victory. "Fellow council members, the war that has plagued our galaxy for 3 years is over. The Mordak Empire has been defeated by the human fleet in less than 5 hours of combat." Shocked murmurs filled the council chamber. Many representatives had never heard of humans before this week. "How many human ships participated in this battle?" asked Councillor Meshka. 50 vessels, Councillor. Against a Mordak fleet of 300. The council chamber erupted in amazed conversation. It seemed impossible that such a small force could achieve such a decisive victory. "What makes human warfare so effective?" asked another representative. Ambassador Kethvar looked at his notes. "According to our military analysts, humans fight to achieve total victory as quickly as possible. They do not follow traditional rules of combat. They use kinetic weapons that can penetrate energy shields. Most importantly, they never give up." "Are they a threat to peaceful species?" "Not if those species remain peaceful. But any race that threatens innocent civilians will face the same fate as the Mordaks." The Council voted unanimously to offer humanity full membership with permanent seats on all military committees. Earth was now one of the galaxy's great powers. Captain Jake Morrison sent his final report to Earth Command. Mission accomplished. The war is over. Humanity has shown the galaxy what we are capable of when pushed to fight. Let us hope we never have to do it again. But in the depths of space, other hostile species were already making plans. They had heard about the human victory and wanted to test these newcomers for themselves. They would soon learn that humanity's reputation for ending wars quickly was well earned.